took so long to actually get started that it caught me in the middle of a sneeze. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, hello, welcome to the Death Metal Cast, the only show on YouTube.
The only
Wow.
Period.
All right.
I like
we won,
these
guys.
big
We beat
claims.
everything else. Everything else
did.
left.
Yeah, it's our team now.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. We let's go ahead and get into things.
That was really funny. That got me.
Welcome to the show. You guys know who we are. I'm Ben.
Yeah.
That's Chad. That's Sam. That's Nick. We're going to talk about Shredder versus Ghul today, which should be really fun. I believe Sam is going to be repping Raish, and Nick is going to be repping Shred. Sure.
Shred.
Yeah, because the new game just came out, and it looks
Just awesome.
amazing. We tried to play it with friends. We were all going to play it together for my friend's birthday. That's what he wanted to do. And it was the night that the servers were like murdering themselves, so we couldn't actually play.
Oh, really?
It. Yeah, so I haven't played it.
Has
yet.
anybody here actually played the game yet? I haven't.
Christine and I
Nick
played
has.
it. Christine and I played it. Yeah. It's a very good game. It's very good. If you have Game
22-second
Pass
review,
on that-
go.
22 seconds. Okay, if you have Game Pass, just go ahead and play it like right now. What are you waiting for? If you have
10 seconds.
if you have any other system, just play it on that, because if you love Ninja Turtles,
3
if you love beat 'em
seconds.
ups, this is a great game that just mashes up both those things so nicely.
Done.
And I'm kind of going faster.
It was just a really
Faster.
long last 3 seconds.
Yeah.
The 22 seconds, more like 7.
Seconds vary over here in Death Battle Land. All right. Before we get into that, though, I do want to mention a new episode of Death Battle has just come out. Hercules versus Sun Wukong, the Monkey King. Holy shit! I am so happy with this episode. If you have not seen it, please check it out. It's been a project that we've been working on for a little while now. I mean, like every Death Battle, but this one is very special in a lot of ways. It's got a lot of uniqueness to it in terms of how we're presenting the information, how we do the fight, and the kinds of characters that we're covering at all. So I think we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the show, because I'd love to, especially with you, Nick, kind of go over a little bit of the process that we worked on. Man, I'm so excited with how it turned out.
It's so cool. And also the other thing is, like,
episode.
this one's so different in just the characters, and it's our first time covering mythology. Like, a lot of, like, it was said multiple times, just like, it's really cool, but we'll see how it does.
Yeah,
It's one of those things we don't get to know until we release it. Sorry, was that next?
So yeah,
you're wondering how it's going to do. It is number 2 on trending, last I heard.
That was crazy.
Just pretty fantastic.
Pretty
Really
good.
cool for what's kind of like the most ancient matchup imaginable is kind of how I look at it. Maybe it's not actually, but it's one of them.
I saw a lot of the community memeing saying it was peak human versus peak monkey. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, one of the characters is, Hercules is thousands upon thousands of years old. Sun Wukong is only 400, but
He's a spry chicken.
Yeah, compared to Hercules.
Yeah.
But I real quick shout out. I do want to thank all of you guys watching this for sharing the episode around and getting people hyped for it. I did see a lot of people talking about it in the lead up to the release of just wanting it to do well and wanting it to be a good episode. And I really appreciate the support behind it. And that was definitely noticed. Thank you so much. So let's get into this community death battle. Shredder versus Ghul. But before we get into the arguments themselves, we've actually talked about this matchup several times, sort of behind the scenes, about whether or not it would be interesting to do as a death battle. So, like, full disclosure, this might be a little bit of like a testing ground for it. If you guys like this matchup, maybe we'll do it.
Coincidentally, we're also currently planning the next season.
Yeah, that is coming up, isn't it? So let us know what you think of this. There are two sorts of directions that we've talked about potentially taking this, and I think we're going to kind of figure this out while we're doing the community death battle. Obviously, Shredder versus Raish, in and of itself, could be a really interesting fight, and I think that's how we're going to start this argument. But at a certain point, if you guys want to talk about their armies, the League of Assassins versus the Foot Clan. That might be an interesting twist as well. But let's go ahead and just start with Shredder and Raish. Nick,
Alrighty.
you want to kick us off with Shredder?
I would love to kick us off. So Shredder,
60 seconds.
he is.
This is true 60 seconds this time.
Okay, actual like human time, 60 seconds. No death.
55 seconds
time.
left now.
Oh my god!
No, the timer wasn't up, Ben. What are you doing?
So Shredder is I would say he's like just the quintessential ninja leader. He's got the cool suit with the blades everywhere. He's an absolute master of of his martial arts. He frequently takes on the best of the best in his universe, and oftentimes some of those best will gang up on him, and he still wins. He's absolutely insane, and there's so many different versions of him too that I think especially if we were to do like an amalgamation of all the different Shredders, he's absolutely got this one in the bag, because there's Rise of the TMNT where he's like a 500-year-old demon. There's the 2003 cartoon where he's like an alien fugitive criminal guy. There's the original comic book where he's just a regular plain old dude who dies in the first issue, whatever. There's the 80s cartoon where he holds lava in his bare hand. And there's my personal favorite, the 2012 cartoon where he's just the coolest freaking thing ever. Not to mention his armies are... I'm out of time. Shoot.
We'll get to the armies. Don't worry about the armies just
yet.
yet.
Great start.
Okay, I didn't research the armies, so I have time to worry about them now.
That's fine.
Also, it's not relevant here, but Shredder just looks like a character that'd be really hard to eat. Just gonna say it.
Oh, dude, I totally had I ran out of time, but I totally had a way to wrap it up. He may not need to look for a can opener, but he also doesn't need to look for ways to beat Raish. I just kind of improvised that at the top of my head.
Well, give me my 60 seconds so I can tell you why Raish is better. Cool. Yeah. Whereas Shredder is the quintessential ninja leader, Ra's al Ghul is the quintessential occult assassin leader. And if occult assassins are better than ninjas, there's my base argument. But past that, he doesn't need a comic where he is 500 years old, because he's actually over 700 years old. He's got a way more experience. He's fought, he fought in the courts of like Louis the 13th. Like, this man's been around doing fencing, fighting people for hundreds of years. Not to mention, he can transfer his soul to other people. He can do all sorts of weird occult magic. He's so smart. He just figured out how to cheat death and be immortal by making a Lazarus pit. Like, Shredder might be clever and a good fighter, but he is nowhere near as smart and as experienced as Ra's al Ghul. And Ra's al Ghul's army is way sicker. Plus, Ra's al Ghul, richest man in the world. That does help too. I don't think Shredder's got the Bezos money like Raish do.
Depends what Shredder we're talking about, of course. Yeah. Like that is one of the trickier things with Shredder is I believe when we did Shredder versus Silver Samurai, we basically said any version of Shredder that is like human is okay to talk about, because generally speaking they're pretty similar. So that did remove the
demon.
Yeah, the demon one. Well, the Tengu Shredder's like, yeah, a completely different thing. And the alien Shredder as well. But even among the human Shredders at this point, there's a lot of variety. Like, one of them's a normal guy, like Nick mentioned. One of them, the 2012 show, completely reinvented just how badass
so freaking
Shredder
cool.
can be.
So freaking cool in that show.
And then now there's the new live action movies where he's just some guy
I forgot about those.
In a Silver Samurai suit.
Who gets abducted by Krang in the second movie out of nowhere and just accepts it. Remember that?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, this is going to be... We're going to change this right now. This is Shredder from those movies versus Silver Samurai from the Wolverine movie.
Oh, boy.
Well,
I think Shredder loses because that Silver Samurai had adamantium. He was like an adamantium mech suit.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Problem solved. We can move back into what we were talking about before.
We can do Ra's al Ghul from the movies. Was not
he's
Raish.
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, in the Christopher
like
Nolan
Monsters,
movie.
Inc.
Yeah, it's Ra's al Ghul for some reason.
It's because it's Liam Neeson.
Yeah, Liam Neeson though. I mean, he did a pretty good job. That was decent.
He was also technically kind of Ken Watanabe as well, because Ra's al Ghul, sorry, in the Nolan movies was like a title. That's how they made a grounded, realistic version of the immortality. Anyway,
maybe I just misinterpreted it. I always thought that it was like whatever. It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't.
So, did Ra's create the Lazarus Pits?
Yeah, Ra's made the Lazarus Pits.
Okay.
In post crisis, Ra's creates the Lazarus Pits.
Interesting. Okay. So he does have some element of magic at play, which is not usually Shredder's forte.
Yeah, I can't really think of a lot of segment or like things he does where he's like, and I cast fireball, right? But he does he does the like soul transfer thing a few times, even though one is like the major instance of that's from Batman Beyond. But you know, in he definitely messes about with a lot of occult stuff. Like, and there's been times where he's like, I've got this ancient pharaoh's artifact and now I have super strength, right? Like, he does some occult shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's less like him having magic powers and more that he knows how to tap into certain relics.
He's resourceful.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, his biggest thing is he's like been trying to be the most badass bad guy for 700 years, right? Like, he has far more experience in being a bad guy than anybody else.
More experience being a bad guy than anybody else.
Yeah.
At least 700 years of it.
And doing a lot of things. When I was doing a little bit of research for this, there's this great comic book panel where he's trying to like get, God, I can't remember, some like C-tier character to join the League of Assassins. And he's like, it's from like the one of his statements where he says he is the richest man in the entire world. And then the guy's like, I don't care about money. And he's like, well, I've seen you look at women. I can make sure that you like always know how to please them in like congenial ways. And I was like, is Ra's giving him like hot tips in the bedroom? Is my guy? Like,
let me tell you, after 700 years, I've got some tips for you, bro.
He knows it. He's got it there. But yeah, so Ra's do a lot, apparently. He's got a lot of game.
That's more than Shredder can say, because his story half the time is he wanted to marry Tang Shen, but he couldn't because she was in love with Splinter. Yeah. So then he became bad guy.
Shredder's origin story is an incel. Like, it's not the best takeaway
to a rat.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just
a guy who became a
nice
rat,
guys finish last.
Yeah, another Shredder, right?
Guess I'll be a supervillain.
Well, like, whereas a normal incel might study the blade, Shredder became the blades themselves. You know what I mean?
I will say it does most likely boil down to some sort of blade versus blade fight, right? Like, that's how this works, is like a sword fight.
That'd be cool. Or at least a claw.
Yeah, and I will say Ra's like forte is sword fights. That is the thing he is like the best at. And he claims when he beats Bane just like one-on-one with a sword fight, where Bane is like, you know, he should just be able to easily overpower him, but Ra's is 700 years old and really cool. So he wins the sword fight and he says, I've killed more men in duels than you've lived days in your life. Like, what a good line, right? He's just like, bam, I got you.
Line.
Yeah. He's really good at the one-liner. Shredder's not much of a talker and not much of a one-liner. I did say Dublade X asks, isn't that the Tang Shen thing exclusive to the 2012 version? I believe that's the comics, the original comics. And that was translated.
It's the comics, the original movie. It's comics, original movie, and 2012. It's like half-ish. I want to say
it's more often.
I want to say maybe the 80s one as well. Is it? Yeah, it's like around half of his.
I don't know if the 80s one ever had like an origin other than he was in the same class as Hamato Yoshi and just like.
Yeah, and he used his
by him.
Or like he used his 1980s Saturday morning cartoon wits to best him by like putting the dagger in his cloak so that he couldn't bow down and be respectful to the people. So that's how we got kicked out of the Foot Clan.
And then he pulled the knife out and he's like, he's gonna attack the master. It's like, no.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, everybody was so judgmental in that dojo. So quick to judge.
We've been training with this person for years. He didn't bow once and he's got a knife in his hands. Get him!
Like, you must want to kill him. Yeah.
I will say real quick, thanks to everybody joining in the chat and already dropping some sweet Shredder and Raish lore. It's great to see that, and I see a lot of different badges in the chat as well from the members. We got bronze badges, black badges, red badges. Great to see it. Thank you all so much for joining and supporting Death Battle. Hope the latest Death Battle makes it worth it, as well as whatever janky shit we get up to here.
Yep. Username brings up that the 80s Shredder wanted to marry April. Yeah, but everything from that area, it was like, I must possess the woman because she is object and must be mine.
Yeah, this is like Thrawn from last week. Like in the 80s, 90s, everyone was Bowser. Like they pretty much all were like, let's kidnap princesses and marry them. Yeah. It's like, I don't know about this.
Okay.
Before we get too much deeper into like this Shredder versus Raish thing, should we do we want to include Rise of the TMNT Shredder? Because I'm just going to say right now, he's got some stuff, man.
Well, he's specifically, he's different though, right? Like he started as a person and he got like possessed or something by the armor.
Yeah, he is still a Rokusaki though. His original name was still Rokusaki.
Unique, right?
Yes, in this version, as I understand it, because I've only seen the first couple episodes of Rise, but as I understand it, his armor like possessed him because it was like demon infused or something like that, and
turns him into a monster. So I think he's
he's like an Oni sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean the equivalent of like Super Shredder, maybe just to a certain extent. Like that kind of idea.
Yeah, like I don't think he's basically Super Shredder if Super Shredder had a Super Shredder. Like just to give you an idea, Rise Shredder, there's a part where he swings his fist because he's fighting somebody in the street, and just the shockwave of that like splits 2 city blocks of buildings in half.
What?
I'm not even kidding. Yeah, like he didn't even touch.
This is Rise we're talking about. This is the
Rise,
anime one.
Oh my god! All right. Well,
that's the level that's the level we're inviting if we include Rise Shredder.
I don't think we should. I think it's too different. I think the Rise characters, just in general, would deserve their own sort of separate analysis.
Yeah, because the turtles themselves, even some of them have like different weapons. Like Raph doesn't have size, and he's got like an astral projection, almost like kaiju mech sort of thing that he taps in. Yeah.
Rise Shredder sounds like he should be fighting All Might. like
they have superpowers in that universe, so let's not worry about that. Like that's the same equivalent as like Tengu Shredder and whatnot. I think Super Shredder still makes sense to include because there are multiple iterations of Shredder using mutagen on himself to become Super Shredder as a last resort.
Let me just delete all my Rise notes because that's the one that I was least familiar with. So. Okay. Well, let me see here.
Let's get some good feats here.
So 80s Shredder, as we've mentioned before, there's a part where they're in like the center of the earth, and he just scoops up some lava in his bare hand and just looks at it. Yeah, like this is one of the most consistent things, no matter what version of Shredder you're talking about. But like very regularly dodges machine gun fire, laser gun fire. He's just wicked fast like that. And speaking of speed, 2012 Shredder, as we determined in Shredder versus Silver Samurai, is able to attack faster than the eye can see. There's a scene where he's talking with this like mob boss sort of guy, and he slashes the candles on the table in front of him, and on screen you don't even see them. And we calculated that was actually a faster feat than Silver Samurai slicing bullets in midair. I forget exactly how many bullets, but it's still, by our own calculations, was enough to trump that.
At least
speed wise,
not hypersonic.
Yeah, speed wise. What kind of stuff does Raish have?
There are moments where Raish is like a little bit more superhero than other times, but like it's harder to say. Raish, like there's some points where they also talk about him in lore, right? Like where people talk about the League of Assassins and like how his leader is, and it's like hard to say like, oh, those are real things or not. But like, there's the classic like cuts a man in half in the blink of an eye thing, and stuff. And also there is a little bit where I couldn't find the source of it. I'm just assuming it's part of like Injustice, but he does like fight the Flash for a little bit, which doesn't sound right at all, but there he is, right? There's got to be more to it, but I didn't have a whole bunch of time to research. But in general, like he does, like I mean, he beats Batman on multiple occasions, and in like he's beat Joker before. Like as far as the Batman Rogues Gallery goes, he's beaten pretty much everybody in that to a decent extent, right?
Sure.
In a lot of those people, like don't think you can say Bane doesn't have like non-superhuman strength, right? He's not Superman, no, but he's definitely far past normal human.
Little bit.
Yeah, and he does dodge gunfire on like a semi like regular basis, but it's usually like someone it's shitty cops like Gotham police who might as well be stormtroopers, right? And like a goon shooting like a bullet at him. It's like I can't think of a segment where it's like automatic gunfire, but he definitely dodges bullets somewhat often.
I'm sorry, I have to call out something in the chat real quick. Nick, are you very familiar with the IDW turtle?
A little bit.
Okay. Jeff Danger says that in IDW, Shredder is the king of hell because he's the strongest bad guy ever.
Okay, I'm not familiar. I'm retconning what I just said. I'm not
Shredder
familiar.
Goes down to hell and conquer hell in IDW.
I need to look into it. Okay, because
metal as hell.
It's
And
pretty
if that's
radical.
true, maybe Rise should be like considered. Maybe they are kind of identical.
Yeah, maybe all of them actually are tied to like demonic powers somehow.
Let me just skim the wiki page for IDW Shredder because it's been a little while since I caught up on that version. I just know that that's a version where like the turtles.
That's the one where Raph
and
like impersonated Shredder for a while, right? That's IDW.
I believe so. I think that also happened in an earlier run of the comics, if I'm not mistaken. But in this version, like the whole theme is everybody's like reincarnated from like centuries earlier, like feudal Japan. They kind of go with that. Yeah, with Jenica.
Yeah.
Well, but although they are bringing Venus back, and she looks like a Frankenstein's monster kind of thing. It's kind of crazy what they're doing. But anyway,
I'm a calendar man. Doom 2016, but it's Shredder.
So I'm gonna skim through. I'm going to skim through the IDW Orokusaki information, but before we do that, I also wanted to bring up that it's good that you mentioned Batman like it was kind of inevitable, but Batman is actually kind of sort of a pre-existing connecting tissue between Shredder and Raish because there's Batman versus TMNT where Shredder and Batman had a one-on-one fight, and it was very close, but Shredder actually did ultimately win that bout because
the first time Batman fights anybody, he gets on his back leg and escapes. Like that's just what Batman does the first time he fights every new bad guy, right?
Batman didn't escape this from
really
from what I saw. Like Shredder left him.
Encounter with Shredder, right?
Yeah, I don't remember how that movie ends. Like obviously the bad guys lose, but in that it's like Batman and Shredder having a one-on-one fight. There's nobody else there. And it's very even. Like that's how they establish it's very even. But like they're both catching their breaths. They're kind of spread apart. Batman jumps down and he's like descending, looking like a bat, like he does. And Shredder does this move that Splinter also did in the 2012 cartoon, where he just kind of takes both his fists and does this and like hits Batman in the chest. He does some like weird Foot Clan mystical, almost like chi energy sort of thing, and just sends Batman flying into a wall, and he's just like out for the count. Shredder's the one who leaves to go carry on his plan with Raish because they're teaming up at that point in the movie. But it was like I said, it's really close, but it was a decisive victory for Shredder when he fought Batman there.
Again, it's the beating Batman the second time. That's the one that's really impressive, because Batman will have prepped for this, right? And Raish has beat Batman multiple times.
I mean, if Batman and Shredder could share the same universe for longer, I'm sure Shredder would have, he would have at least one more win. But this was like a one-time.
Both of them are facing each other for the first time. I think that just helps put Shredder at a similar level as Raish. So it's difficult to say that like one of them could beat the other just normally. You throw them into a fight together with like little to no equipment. It could go either way. So now we bring in stuff like Super Shredder, or if we want to, their armies, their clans.
I do have one thing before we get to the point, because I think I have a good argument in that there's been a couple occasions where Raish has like transferred his soul, and although we don't necessarily see the transfer happen, we know like
We know
because
that
he does the reveal, he's like, I'm actually Raish, ha 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 ha, gotcha. Like, but I do think Shredder has some history of being susceptible to being possessed.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that's the thing. He
it's-
just takes
it's
over
like-
Shredder's body.
Require like a ritual though, like in a cult. If we're
Yeah,
going like a cult, that requires like a whole ass like thing.
Yeah, we don't really see.
realistically do in the heat of a battle, though.
Yeah, don't know.
Yeah, it's not
And
just
I
like physical
believe it
contact.
requires
Your soul
the
is mine.
Lazarus pit, right?
I think in the Batman Beyond version, they allude to the fact that it requires the Lazarus Pit, but I'm not sure how it works in the like New 52.
Okay. Yeah, because if it's a power that he has, sure, but I feel like he would be using that way more often if it was just a power he could do. All right, so
Maybe it's really painful or really disorienting whenever he becomes someone else.
Before we get too far into the next part of this, Chad, do you want to talk about RTX a little bit?
I sure do. If you
Coming
guys
up
haven't
soon.
heard in the last couple episodes we've been telling you about, RTX is our convention. It's the Rooster Teeth Expo here in Austin, Texas, July 1st through 3rd, and we would love to see you. We're all going to be out there having some fun, and we've got like a panel, an autograph signing, and there's tons and tons and tons of stuff to do. So like we've got like we're gonna have some world premieres. You might see some stuff from HBO Max and Adult Swim. If you're into gaming, we've got gaming tournaments, cosplay contests. There's even a 5v5 gaming pavilion that we're gonna have tournaments running throughout the whole weekend. And I think you might see some Rooster Teeth talent participating in some of that stuff. And of course, you can come see all your favorite people from all your favorite shows, from Rooster Teeth wide, as well as other friends from around the industry. So we got a lot of great stuff lined up, and we would love to see you. We haven't seen you guys in person in a very long time, so I'm very much looking forward to saying hi and thank you for watching our stuff in person. We're happy to take a photo or an autograph. So come say hi, come meet us. We would love to see you. It's July 1st through 3rd, so head over to rtxevent.com to grab your badge for RTX Austin and get ready for a weekend filled with the best podcast, gaming, and animation. That's rtxevent.com to get your badge today. We'll see you in Austin, July 1st through 3rd.
Definitely. Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to actually it being, an in-person event again. It's been a little while.
I'm looking forward to seeing all of us in person again.
Yeah, everybody together at least. Yeah, for sure. And we got some people come, from out of town coming in as well, so it'll be great. Yeah, hope to see you all there. It's going to be good. All right. So, real quick, because I don't think I mentioned this at the top, we will have a poll, of course, later on in the show for you guys to vote on who should win between Shredder and Raish. So be thinking about that. But right now, let's talk about what is going on. Cody got it. All right.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody.
Way to go, Cody.
Nailed it.
Oh, thank you, Cody. So I want to talk a little bit about Hercules versus Sun Wukong. We don't need. Hello, that was not creepy at all. Sorry, audio listeners. I want to talk a little bit about Hercules versus Sun Wukong, specifically some of the we don't need to spend too much time on this, but a little bit of the production and what this means for the future. I've seen a lot of people sort of like asking what's going on with this episode and what it could kind of lead to. So I did want to say, since Nick is here, and Nick, you worked on the edit for it.
Mm-hmm.
This was a very different episode in a lot of ways, and one of the ways that I think a lot of people might not really think about is actually putting footage together and trying to make it clear what the hell we're talking about, because we don't have just comic book panels that we are specifically referencing, right? Which is normally what we would do in like a superhero matchup, right?
Yeah. So this is the first time that I've used statues as footage. Thankfully, didn't have to do that a whole heck of a lot because there's only so much I think a statue is going to convey. But I had a lot of fun kind of going for a really ancient sort of feel to this, just like using, like I said, statues, but also just other old classical art and stuff like that. It was just really fun taking those kinds of pieces of art and like music and stuff like that, just really flavoring it to make it feel really, really old. Like this is just like I said, just like the most ancient matchup imaginable. And I thought it was fun to kind of make this like death battle taking place in like 2000 something BC or something like that.
No.
It was just fun. It was just fun.
Speaking
It
of, I just
like
want to shout out real quick. Nick did a really cool members only video for our champions. That's like a breakdown on like on how basically to bring a comic panel to life. And one thing that he did, and like it'll really show you like the depth. I meant to actually message you, dude. When I watched that, I was like, you did such a good job of explaining, and like,
oh, dude, thank you.
That was entertaining from start to finish, and it was really cool. Like I was just entertained by a video that was talking about how this guy just made waves move. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that was great. You did a really good job.
Oh,
So if you
thank
haven't
you,
seen
man. I
that, go check
appreciate
it out.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to sometime when I don't feel like I'm so up against the clock, I like to do a video kind of like that, but instead of showing here's a finished thing and let me just kind of break down what I did, I'd kind of like to do just some recording of like while I'm actually building the thing and just have like time lapse and stuff in between explaining things. I think that'd also be a fun thing to do, but we'll see. We'll have to wait
spoil
for
an episode. You could live stream it.
Aha, yeah. That'd be a fun way to lose my job.
Oh,
Nice little black screen. I like it.
what did you do,
Like
Cody?
What is that supposed to be something? Or are you showing something? No. Okay.
No.
All right. Yeah. So, I mean, on that note, like, it was sort of like the intention going into this episode was to really lean into the idea of like what myths are, right? Myths are long-standing stories that have evolved over time. There's no one correct translation for a lot of myths. Sun Wukong is a little different because it's an actual novel that was published a little over 400 years ago that we could just go, we could see it. But Hercules, of course, is not. So really leaning into that sort of aspect of it with like the narrator and the storytelling, the oral storytelling specifically of myths, is what I really wanted to lean into in terms of like how this is presented. And so showing different images from different sort of like interpretations of this character, but not reinterpretations. I was very specific. I was very specific about like, hey, we're not going to be showing Disney Hercules footage. We're not going to be showing Sun Wukong from Ruby because those aren't the characters. Like those aren't Hercules, and that isn't
inspired by.
Right. They are inspired by, but like it would be disingenuous to like start using that.
That's we don't use fanfic. Like
I guess you could say that there's fanfic of those characters in a way.
Those characters, yeah.
Oh, that's so weird. Like Disney's Hercules is a fan fiction in a way. It really is, right? I mean, it's a good way to like think of like when people say fan fiction is shitty, just tell them, hey, remember Disney's Hercules? It's a movie, and that's fan fiction.
I think Disney's Hercules is legitimately my favorite like Disney musical. Like
it's up there for me. Yeah,
I can go the distance. Slaps so goddamn hard.
Phil Collins, right? Like,
no, Phil Collins was Tarzan.
That's Tarzan.
No, Phil Collins was Tarzan.
Hercules was all like a Greek mythology based story with a gospel choir. Style musical. Like they do such weird mashups, but
basically,
but like
Michael Bolton. That's right,
Michael Bolton.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But so we really leaned into that for the episodes, for like the tone and the presentation. But something I have seen is people wondering like, what does this mean for future episodes, especially since the episode is doing pretty well. I think it just hit 1 million, which is awesome. 1 million views, and it's been on trending all day, which is really cool. Not that I don't know how trending works. Just side note, trending's so weird. Omni-Man versus Homelander was never on trending, but it's got like 6 million views now. It's crazy. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
YouTube's weird.
I just think Omni-Man Homelander was not #1 because it was so gory. I genuinely think it was. They just were like, that can't trend. It's too gory.
Oh, it was really possible, actually.
Yeah, it's possible. We also had we had some crude humor in there as well. So yeah, all right.
Cool. That far without being on trending, that's
clearly
amazing.
It doesn't matter all that much. But anyway, so what does this mean for future episodes? Will we do future mythology episodes? Maybe. There are certainly some names that I've seen kind of thrown around that I think would be really interesting to explore. I know Zeus versus Odin's been thrown around. I've seen Achilles, Beowulf, Gilgamesh. Like all of those, I think would be super interesting. What I do want to emphasize, though, is mythology is very important. If we are doing this in the future, if we're going to be doing more of this, the mythology part of it is incredibly important because a lot of these characters are tied to religions, right? So no, we are not going to be bringing in religious figures. Please don't.
One of these days,
those.
Santa versus Jesus. That's fine.
Nope. Nope. Although technically Santa is mythology, so Santa could be in a death battle
versus the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
Santa versus the Easter Bunny.
No, I seriously would love to do Marvel Santa versus DC Santa. Like that would be like
that
the
would
Santa
be,
battle for Christmas.
DC Santa wins
Would, like,
every
destroy,
goddamn
right?
time. I
Yeah,
think.
so I figured.
But quick clarification: I'm definitely keeping that in mind as we're moving forward with this new death battle world, right? So no, you're not going to be seeing Jesus or probably not Vishnu or anything or anybody like that. But
you want some ideas that are never going to happen? Just look at chat right now.
Yep,
it's full
exactly. It's fun to joke about it sometimes, but also like.
Now I'm curious, Jeff Danger, so. what is the connection for Aphrodite versus Betty Boop?
I mean, ancient sex symbols. Am I right?
Okay,
but I thought it would be like it makes a lot of sense. Like to do things like Minotaur versus werewolf is like more fun than God. A lot of stuff, right? Or like
werewolf versus vampire, dude. Just because we have so much underworld footage to pull from.
I'm sorry, a death battle between like mythological sex symbols is hilarious.
It's very funny. Yeah,
so good.
That's
the only connection. All right. Again, thank you to everybody who's been enjoying and sharing the episode. It's been amazing watching the response to it, especially since like all of us, we had no idea what to expect when we were putting this together. We were like, man, we all really liked it, but I was really nervous that like we'd release it and everybody would go like, what? Where's the Dragon Ball character? Where's the comic book character?
Yeah.
And it's really encouraging that that we're able to sort of like break out of the boundaries, that Death Battle usually has. And you guys are willing to support that. So.
Yeah, let me get a Cosmere fight next. There's just nothing to show.
Maybe we will. All right. Anyway, let's get back to the community death battle. Cody?
There we go.
Yay.
He did it. All right.
Condescending claps.
Yeah.
Let's we got about 50 minutes to wrap this up. We got to get to the poll. So real quick, is there anything you guys want to cover about the characters before we move on to maybe like army talk?
Yeah, I think maybe we just get into the army talk.
Okay. So if we are involving the armies, how does that change things? What would that bring into this that would completely adjust like the matchup?
A lot of mutants, man. A lot of superpowered mutants, depending on the version you're looking at. But just off the top of my head, Baxter Stockman, Bebop, Rocksteady, they've shown up in more than just the 80s cartoon, by the way. In the 2012 cartoon, you've got Razar and Fish Face, and some others as well that I'm forgetting. But yeah, like no matter what version of Shredder you're looking at, or almost no matter what, you can pretty much bet on there being at least a couple of mutants on his side. So
or super powerful henchmen to some degree.
Yeah, not to mention
at least someone who's got superhuman strength.
Yeah, and he's also fairly typically got robotics, or if not just straight up like alien tech on his side. Like he's got human foot soldiers, sure, but he's also got ones that are like alien robots and stuff like that can shoot lasers and presumably are tougher to kill than a human.
Do the Mausers and that stuff, does that count as Krang's tech? Like, or is that
the Mausers were originally made by Baxter Stockman.
Oh,
but
really?
Baxter Stockman was kind of working for Shredder at the time, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's another thing that might just depend on the iteration. But I mean, either way, Mausers are pretty like
low tier.
They can do some damage, but at the end of the day, they're just like pawns when they're up against like the turtles.
There's some like upgraded versions in certain iterations, but either way, I do want to kind of touch on the mutants because I think Well, I want to hear about the League of Assassins first before we go too far into Shredder stuff. League of Assassins, he's got it's large, right?
Yeah, it's weird because it's also like shrouded in mystery. So like the extent of it, he claims it to be he claims it to be the richest organization in the world, and of like the most professional but near do wells you could find. But like the thing for it is like they don't ever give a number, and a lot of them are super highly trained goon assassins, right? Like I assume Ra's al Ghul's like assassin goons are probably on par, if not better, than the standard foot soldier clan. But I doubt the League of Assassins, just being how mysterious it is as large as the Foot Clan, right? The Foot
Well,
Clan's probably got sheer numbers.
That's actually the big thing that I kind of want to like clarify. So Vampire Nevermore actually just posted a list of some of the more deadly like top tier goons like Talia, Shiva,
Yeah.
Bronze Tiger. I believe Deathstroke is also part of the league technically. I could be
there's
wrong.
there's three big
Um,
ones that I think matter. Vertigo, Bane, and Deathstroke are in the League of Assassins, and like those three are pretty big.
okay. So
Technically,
about-
Bruce Wayne at one point.
Yeah. I mean, we should be specifically talking about like characters that they can call on, like naturally, not like one-time members. I would say, but are the members of the League of Assassin loyal to Raish? Are they going to
I
follow him
mean-
into battle?
On Bane's account, I think there's a really easy argument to be made to say no, because like their entire relationship is like Bane trying to double cross him, but Raish is always one step ahead in the chess game, right? Like, but with
Starscream and
Deathstroke,
Megatron.
like Deathstroke,
Yeah.
his entire thing is just like, do you have money? Yes, you're the richest man in the world. We're good, right? There's like nothing. Like he's just a mercenary. So yeah,
If you were to rank just the general group, 1 to 10, 1 being the least loyal, 10 being absolute most loyal, will die for you. What number would you give just the general group overall?
I mean, of other like superhumans, that's a different number, but the entire League of Assassins is like 9 out of 10 because they know Raish will kill them, right? There's like there's not a leaving the League of Assassins.
What about
In, like-
Shredder? Ranking his troop 1 to 10 in terms of loyalty.
It's hard to
feel like a
say
lot of
because
the
off the
mutants-
top of my head, it's hard to say because like off the top of my head, the only people who I know have like led the Foot Clan are Shredder, Karai, and Raphael.
Well,
And
specifically,
Raphael was
how
posing as
likely are they
Shredder
to
at that
betray Shredder? Because I know
Uh,
Karai betrays
I don't
Shredder, Krang betrays Shredder, Baxter Stockman betrays Shredder. I know
Yeah,
there's
Even
those
up in
are
Rocksteady
shady
can be
stuff going
tricked
on.
into betraying Shredder. Like,
Yeah, I think some of the most notable higher ups can, but as far as like the armies themselves, I don't think so. It depends. Like if it's a robot soldier that like Shredder took over from Krang or something like that, which I think happened in the 2012 cartoon. I think in 2012, Shredder basically took over Krang's armies, or like the Krang army, because the Krang is like a race, not a person. It's been a while since I've seen that show, but that sounds about right. The general goons, I don't think are very likely to like betray Shredder or anything like that. I think they just kind of fall in line under whoever is their leader. It's usually the Shredder or somebody posing as the Shredder.
Right.
That's
Okay,
kind of been pretty
so
consistent.
probably pretty similar in comparison to Raish in terms of loyalty.
yeah. Also,
Um,
Vampire brings up the League of Assassins also have an army of ninja man bats.
Yeah. So the thing with the League of Assassins, as far as I'm aware, is that it is incredibly large worldwide. They have a specific location in God, I'm blanking on the location's name. They have a specific hideout that has a lot of them located, but they're kind of spread out throughout the world, right? And they come together when needed. Shredder doesn't have that. The Foot Clan, from what I can remember, in almost every iteration, the Foot Clan is relatively small. I know the 2012 one, or not the 2012, the early aughts one has a American faction, a New York faction, and a Japan faction. Because Karai is leading the Japan faction. But I believe that's the only version that has like more than just the group in New York. Am I wrong?
I can't definitively say yes or no because there's so many versions of Shredder, and I started researching like an hour or so before we went live, so I didn't quite get around to the Foot Clan. But just through the TMNT stuff that I've absorbed over the years, I think it's just one of those things that just kind of varies heavily from version to version.
Right, but there's never been
no,
a version that's like my army can conquer all of like a nation, right? That's not a thing. Krang does that.
Not to my
Cities.
remembrance. Yeah, like in 2012, Shredder definitively takes over New York City.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
completely overtakes that city, and who knows how far beyond the
Right,
boundaries
'cause the
there.
Purple Dragon Gang.
Yeah, like the Purple Dragon Gang was in charge of New York essentially from like a mob perspective until Shredder came in, and like that scene where he cut the candles faster than the eye can see. That was the scene where he was basically like, "You work for me now,"
Right.
and I'm in
Shredder
charge around
conquers
here.
gangs within the city that he's taking over. Very Kingpin-esque.
Very, very
And
Kingpin-esque. Yeah.
that's how it takes over. Okay. That's
I believe there are versions where it's kind of don't take this as like truth, but I want to say that there are versions where it's kind of mentioned that there's sort of a global thing. But obviously, as being Ninja Turtles, most of what we see is like in New York. I don't quote me on that, but I think that sounds right to me. Yeah. Oh, is it worth? I know this isn't Armies, but is it worth touching on Super Shredder? Do you think?
Yeah, probably.
Sure. Let's wrap up with that because Raish. I mean, Raish gets powers from the Lazarus Pit, right? Like as he gets more powerful as he comes back. I think.
I think just using it keeps him like powerful, and
Yeah.
he's just like getting
He, like,
stronger
bathes
because
in
he's
it, right?
yeah, he
In
like
order to
takes
You
it.
maintain
gotta like
it, like,
submerge yourself in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he is superhuman to a certain degree. So Super Shredder might be necessary to keep up with him. So what does Super Shredder bring to the table? Because there are multiple versions of Super Shredder. But
There are
they're
multiple
kinda the
versions,
same.
but yeah, just some bullet points. The version that you see in the games, like teleports Akuma style, like Street Fighter Akuma style,
Yeah.
can shoot like ki blasts and stuff, lightning. One version of that lightning like de-evolves the Ninja Turtles back into regular turtles. I don't know what that would mean for Raish, but it's like special lightning.
Baby, he's a baby.
The single best edit in movie history. But also 2012 Super Shredder is more of like a Hulk. He I think it's mentioned he sacrifices some of his speed, but he's like way stronger, way more durable. And when I say more durable, I mean like he fell by Donatello's calculations at least 1,000 feet and survived. So did Splinter. Splinter fell even further, mind you. But 2012 Super Shredder also survived an oil tanker slamming into him and exploding. Um, the only real weakness that Super Shredder had was that it was something with the ooze that he used to mutate himself. His mutation wasn't stable. It took a while for that mutation to like stabilize because he would like be doing okay in a fight, but then he'd suddenly start getting like really exhausted or weak, or his arm would start like falling apart and stuff like that. It's because the mutation hadn't been stabilized yet. But yeah,
Once it was, he was a beast, and it was almost impossible to stop. They had to, like,
to the
do a
point.
whole like assassin mission to take him out at the end.
Yeah, like he was so
kinda
strong.
dark. Like,
It really was. Like he was so
dark ending.
strong. He was so strong in 2012 that like when the Turtles actually did beat Shredder, I was like, but how? That doesn't make any sense. Like because
That's
he's got
because
an
death battles
exposed
ruined
heart.
your brain.
Yeah, pretty much. Like he has.
We do have to move on.
Yeah.
We only got 5 minutes left, but he's
Sure.
incredibly strong, probably stronger than what Raish can bring to the table, to be honest. But he does sacrifice a little bit of speed. So with that in mind, I do want to mention that there is sort of the caveat here with Shredder, and that we are talking about multiple versions, but we are specifically talking about the human versions. So keep that in mind. So whether or not that changes, if you
No
think,
Rise, no 2003.
you guys who are about to vote, if you think that is unfair, that is totally valid. That can affect your vote if you think that's fair, and that also works. So first, let's start by bringing up some community answers from the community tab. Let's bring up the first one, whichever one that may be.
This one comes from the Koopa Kirby. Raish will take this. Raish has sword fought with Wonder Woman until a stalemate. While it is true she was holding back, she commented that his speed was tough to counter without using her strength. This means he scales to Wonder Woman in speed since he presumably wasn't holding back in that way. Additionally, he one-shot DC Moon Knight Azrael, who was stronger than Bane. This should give Raish the ability to shred up Orokusaki before he even gets a chance to pronounce Raish incorrectly.
All right. Let's
Shredder
go.
of all
Let's bring
people would
answer
pronounce it
for
correctly.
Shredder.
That was great. I didn't. The Wonder
Yeah,
Woman scaling.
Really good answer.
All right, this one comes. It's a little blurry. Sorry, guys. We see a much lower quality version, so I can't really read it. Tilluin 5. Anyway, thank you.
Takunin 5.
Takunin 5. All right. Well, if the 3-volume crossover and the Batman versus TMNT movie are anything to set to go by, Shredder is literally able to go toe-to-toe and hold his own against Batman. Raish has the League and Talia, but Shredder has Carl?
Karai.
Karai. Okay,
Karai.
sorry. Like I said, I've got
His
my
daughter
screen's super
protege.
blurry. Yeah. The entire Foot Clan, which tends to mix people, mutants, and machines. Bebop and Rocksteady, and sometimes Hun, the Purple Dragons, and Krang. Not to mention, Shredder could turn into Super Shredder. Helped him out really well against Silver Samurai. There you go.
Yeah. All right. So we're bringing that poll up so you guys can vote. But first, before we get to the. Sorry, we're getting the poll up right now. But before we wrap up the poll, we do have a poll from the community tab. Let's go ahead and bring that up and see what the first vote is.
All right.
Wow.
Okay.
It's
Wow.
pretty close.
That's really cool.
53% for Shredder. Interesting.
Should I mention that Ra's al Ghul's League of Assassin has, and I believe this is a direct quote, weapons beyond your wildest dreams. I think it's just some generic occult shit he says, but also he is like the richest man in the world and probably does have nuclear bombs. Like,
Is he
if
going to
you think
survive
about
one of them? Like,
well,
there are
I
at least
mean,
versions of Shredder that I
also
think
the,
maybe
like,
could survive
the
a nuclear bomb.
long-term survival of Raish is like Raish can die and come back later, and I know in a death battle it's like, well, he's dead, so
Shredder's
even
not
if he comes back
He's
later,
not able to
died.
just pop
But-
back up right away, so I don't think that matters.
Real
All
quick,
right.
because Sam hasn't had a chance to say this. It's just one thing. Aside from a nuclear bomb, what do you think Raish could do against Super Shredder? Because we got a really good explanation just now of Super Shredder, but is there any? What do you think?
I don't know if Raish one-on-one could do, like, he would have to, which he often does, have some sort of occult trinket that will take Super Shredder's powers away, right? Like, that's like some Raish stuff. He is a lot like Batman, where he has a plan,
Mhm.
right? Like,
I mean,
so,
we just saw an answer
Can it take away
that talked about
mutation?
him being stronger than Bane.
yeah, I mean, he
Bane
is.
is a pretty good equivalent to Super Shredder, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So maybe he can match Super Shredder in just pure power.
He's
and he
stronger
wants-
and faster than Bane. Just, for the record.
Yeah, and he
Just
doesn't
says,
lack
Sam,
the
you
speed.
can't
Well,
drop
What's
that
the point
after
of
I
Bane's
voted.
venom if he's stronger? What is the point?
All right. We got to wrap this up. So it's time for our votes. Chad, who are you voting for?
I'm definitely leaning towards Shredder for this one.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. I was surprised. I was expecting comic book character sweep. I'm voting Raish.
I mean, they're both
Okay.
I think he's got enough to take care of Shredder. But that's 2-1. So this is going to come down to your guys' vote. Let's go ahead and wrap up that poll. See where the vote lies and whether or not this could be a tie and lead to a tiebreaker, or, well, it's not a tie. Like, that's how this works. All right, so let's go ahead and get that wrapped up. And we've got Shredder with 59% taking
Ooh, dang.
the win 3-1. Okay. Interesting. Now,
We
there
should do
were
this episode.
certainly a lot of caveats and questions as we talked about this. So I'm very curious what you all think of this matchup. Again, this is something that we have considered for a death battle. And if it's something that you guys want to see, we'd love to know your thoughts. Let us know in a comment in the chat. Share this video around with people who might also be interested in giving their opinions. And again, if you have not seen Hercules versus Sun Wukong, please go check it out.
It's really cool.
I'm personally very attached to it. I really want it to do well. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. Nick, Sam, thanks for repping these ridiculous ninja characters.
Anytime. I want this episode to happen.
Oh gosh.
There's our secret ghost, Brian.
Secret ghost.
This is legitimately my
Ghost
dream
Fred
episode.
and Cody.
Yeah.
All right. So just to wrap things up, be kind to others, be kind to yourself, be awesome. And we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.
Cut to black.